Hello again everybody, and welcome back to another Decode Tech Python video. So we've been talking about different data structures, and today we're going to talk about the Python set. Now sets are an unordered collection. Now we looked at lists and tuples. Those are both ordered. In other words, you can index them because they have a specific order, but a dictionary was unordered. You had to use the key to get the values. So let's go ahead and dive into VS Code. And a set is a mutable data type, which means it can change. But what's interesting is the data in a set has to be immutable, which means it can't change. And these Python sets also represent the mathematical notation of a set. Now, how do we create a set? A set is designated by curly brackets. Now, you're probably going to be like, wait a second, wasn't that a dictionary? And you'd be right. A dictionary is also curly brackets, but a dictionary is key value pairs, whereas a set is just a value. And on line 2, I'm trying to create a set, but if I do it this way, it won't create an empty set. It'll actually create an empty dictionary. And to prove that, if I go on line 3 and I say print the type of my set, then I should get the type to be a dict. And I'll just run that. And you see we do get class of dict down at the bottom. But now if I put a value into these curly braces, even just a 1, and run it again, then I should get the class of a set. Because I didn't give it a key value pair, I just gave it one value. And sure enough, we get set printed to the screen. Now, if you did want to create an empty set, you can use a function called set in Python, and it looks like this. You just go set, open and close parentheses, and that'll give us a set. And I should have actually let the print there so we can print out the type of my set. And I actually need to use the type function on that if I want to get the type. And so if I run this, then we should also get the class of set, and we do. And another thing to note with that is you can actually do that with lists, with the list function, and you can do it for dictionaries with the dict function, and you can also do it for tuples with the tuple function. So either way works to create an empty structure. Okay, so here I created a set with 1, 2, 3, 3. Now what differentiates sets from lists is there's no repeated values in a set. So if I were to now print out my set, I should only get 1, 2, 3, because the extra 3 will just get dropped. So if I go ahead and actually print that out, we should just get 1, 2, 3. And sure enough, we get 1, 2, 3 printed. This gives the sets advantages over lists in, say, searching for an item. So that is one case in which you might want to use a set. So how do we search for an item in a set? Because it's not ordered, so we can't use an index. And with a dictionary, we could use a key, but with a set, we don't even have a key. So how do we find something in a set? Well, that's one of the disadvantages of sets. But you can use the in keyword, so if 1 in my set would work, and then you could print found it or something, whatever you want to do. And so I'll just run that, and it should say found it because 1 is in my set. The other thing you could do is loop over your set. You could do for I in my set, and I is just a placeholder. It could be anything you want, just a variable name. And then I'll do print I, and I'll run that. And you see we can loop over all the values in our set, but once again we only get 1, 3 in this case because sets don't have repeated values. Okay, so how might we add to a set? Well, let's look at some set methods. Remember, there's objects in Python that have functions tied to them that are called methods. So lists have .append, dictionaries have .keys, and we'll see now that sets have a couple of their own, and one of them is .add. And so what that'll do is add an item or element to the set if it doesn't already exist. So I'll do the name of my set, which is my_set, .add, and functions have parentheses right after them. And then we'll put in the parentheses what value we want to add. So let's add a 0. And now I'll print out my set down below, and hopefully we should get that element added to our list. Sorry, set rather. And sure enough, we get a 0 put in our set. And remember, sets aren't necessarily ordered, so there's no guarantee what order items will come in. Now, how about deleting some things from our set? So I'm just going to leave that add there, and I'll get rid of this print though. Well, there's some more methods, so let's get the name of our set. And there's two methods that are really similar. So I'll use the dot, and I can do either .remove or .discard. They're very similar. So remove looks like that, and discard will look like that. And they do pretty much the same thing. They throw away the element. The biggest difference is discard will not throw an error if the element isn't in the set. So if you're trying to discard something that isn't there, it's not going to throw an error, but remove will throw an error. So I'm just going to try one of them. I'll put 2 in here and hopefully we get rid of the 2 from our set. So I'll print out my set again and I'll run that. And good news, the 2 is no longer there. The other method we'll look at is .clear. That will clear all the elements from the set without deleting the actual set itself. So now I'll just run this and that should give us a blank set. And you see it gives us that set function with the parentheses instead of the curly braces because an empty set can't be designated with curly braces, as we said at the beginning. All right, and then if you want to delete the whole set, you can use the del keyword and the name of your set, which is del my set. And now if I run this, we should get an error because we're trying to print out my set after it doesn't exist. And sure enough, it says my set is not defined. All right, so before we end this tutorial, I'm going to look at 3 more methods, union, intersection, and difference. And so this is different things you can do with sets. And more specifically, it's what you can do with 2 sets. So on line 3, I've created another set with just a little bit different elements, but yet some of the same. And then these methods we're about to look at, we'll see whether the 2 sets have things in common and maybe seeing the differences between the sets. So let's look at some of these. So let's do my set.union, and then what union is going to do is it's going to take the other set that we want to do a union with. So we'll pass in our another set here, and I'm just going to print this out to the screen. You could also store it in a variable or something if you wanted another set with this result. But I'll just print it out and let's see what we get. And now you see we get the output of both of these sets. So we get all the stuff that is common plus the extra stuff. So our another set has a 4 and a 0 that our first set don't have. But our first set has a 3 that our second set doesn't have. So we get a total of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So union gives you everything that is common plus whatever's extra in both. Now let's look at intersection. So I'm going to type in intersection and everything else can stay the same. And now this is going to give us only the things that are common with both. So we'll run that. And now you see we just get 1 and 2. Because the first list doesn't have a 0, and the next list doesn't have a 3, and the first list doesn't have a 4. So the only 2 elements that are in both sets are 1 and 2. And now let's look at the difference method. So difference, and I'll run this method. And you see we got 3. So basically what this is saying is what is different in my set than in another set. And the only thing different was this 3. Now let's try swapping these sets. So I'm going to call the method on another set and I'm going to pass it my set. So just swapping the place of the sets. And let's run it again. And now you see we get 0 and 4 because now it's saying what is different in another set compared to my set. So it's swapping the places of the 2 sets. And it's saying, well, I have a 1 in this set, but there's also a 1 in my set. And I have a 2 in this set, but there's also a 2 in this set. It doesn't care about the 3 because there's no 3s in this set, but it has a 0 and a 4 that my set doesn't have, and so it prints those to the screen. All right, and lastly, I just wanted to show you that these methods also have operators that do the same thing. So instead of .union, of course you need the name of the set before your method because they aren't just regular functions. But instead of this method, you could use what is called the pipe symbol. Just like a bar straight up and down, and I think it's normally found below your delete key on your keyboard. And instead of intersection, you can use the and symbol or the ampersand. And instead of different, you can use just a minus sign. So that would look something like this. So my set, union, another set. And this basically means the same thing. So you might see it both ways. So I just wanted to point that out in case you see that in code and are confused. But that's going to do it for the built-in data structures in Python. We looked at lists, tuples, dictionaries, and sets. And if you're following along in this series, our next video is going to be on functions. And you're definitely not going to want to miss that one. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like this content in general, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel out. Also, if you have the means, these videos take a lot of time to produce. You could contribute on Patreon, and I'll have a link to that in the description below. Any questions or comments you may have, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. Otherwise, hope to see you all in the next video.